Estamos grabando la clase del día 7 de octubre, clase del día 7 de octubre, UMCE, grupo 2. Y comenzamos con la unidad 2, que es Adjective Phrases y Adverb Phrases. Tal cual lo dijimos al principio del semestre, probablemente la parte más difícil es Noun Phrases, porque el resto de los conceptos que se ven en Noun Phrases también se ocupan en el resto de las frases. ¿Sí? Vamos a comenzar con dos slides, o sea, dos PowerPoints, un introductorio de adjectives, que es este, tomado desde Cambridge Online Dictionary, no tiene nada extraño, nada diferente, y otro que está tomado desde A Comprehensive Grammar of el de Randolph Quirk, A Comprehensive Grammar of Spoken and Written English, I think. ¿Ya? Pero lo vamos a ver. So let's do it. Okay, word classes adjectives. In general terms, an adjective is a word that describes, I don't like the term word, I prefer the term lexeme, that describes or specifies a quality or property of a noun. Therefore, adjectives, they work with nouns, right? These are rich in semantic meaning and form an open class. Okay, let's remember let's review some stuff from the very beginning of this year, where we said that lexemes can be divided into two groups. These groups are open classes and closed classes. Therefore, the open class, all those are the ones which you can actually make some new ones, right? So basically, an adjective is a group of words and you can create new. Therefore, they belong to the open class. Nothing new. There is no end to the words we can use to qualify a noun. When they say there's no end, that is to say that you can create new. In syntax, adjectives in English and Spanish are very similar, and they can be attributive when they accompany a noun or predicative when they form a predicate or complement. Okay, so basically adjectives can be divided into two. One of them, or they are called attributive adjectives, and the other ones are called predicative adjectives, right? When we say attributive adjective, we're referring to adjective as a premodifier. And when we say predicative adjectives, we're referring to adjectives as valency pattern elements, that is to say complements, subjects or object complements. Therefore, in the examples, this is a difficult problem. We're going to review it. Just give me a second. Okay, and this position. Therefore, crap. Okay, this is a difficult problem. In this place, I'm going to provide a syntactic analysis for this. So this is a difficult problem, right? Nothing new. This is a noun phrase, right? Yeah, noun phrase. Object. And nothing new. Nothing new. Determiner pre, difficult, adjective pre, and problem is our noun head. In this case, difficult, as you can see, is the pre-modifier of the head of the noun head, right? Therefore, we say that difficult is an attributive adjective. Because it's performing the role of a pre-modifier, right? Right. On the other hand, the problem is difficult. There's something different in here. The problem is difficult, right? Subject complement. And in this case, difficult, as you can see, is the head of its own adjective phrase. Therefore, is performing a valency pattern role. In this specific case, is a subject complement. Because of that difference, we're saying that this is a predicative adjective. Right? Predicative adjective. Now, the interesting thing about this is that we have a new term. The term is predicate, which is, we're going to review it. The predicate then is the part of a sentence that contains the verb and gives information about the subject. In the sentence, we went to the airport. Went to the airport is the predicate. Okay, so the idea is this. The problem is difficult, then is a clause. It's a simple clause, therefore a simple sentence. That simple clause is made out of three elements, a subject, a verb, and the subject complement. The subject is a noun phrase, the problem, and then the predicate is difficult, right? Why? Because there's the action and what's being said about the subject, right? Therefore, a clause can be divided into two broad groups, right? Or perhaps into two very big elements, the subject and the predicate, right? Sujeto y predicado, we call them in Spanish. And the predicate is the action and what's said about the subject. And that's it. Because of that idea, then an adjective used as a subject complement or as an object complement, it's called a predicative adjective. On the other hand, an adjective used as a modifier inside of a noun phrase, is called attributive adjective. Why? Because it provides its attributes to the noun head, right? As a summary then, adjectives, they belong to the open class and they can be divided into two, attributive and predicative adjectives. Okay, crap, wait. Okay, of course, as this is grammar, there are exceptions, right? Exceptions, fixed phrases based on older forms from French or Latin, secretary general, court martial, president-elect, and in the description of verb tenses in English, right? Present simple, present continuous, past simple, etc. Okay, what I'm going to say is this. We have discussed the idea of something called fixed phrase. A fixed phrase is, we will say, a group of words which behave as a single unit. Again, a fixed phrase is a group of words which behave as a single unit. For example, due to, right? Or, for example, because of, right? Right. Therefore, or phrasal verbs, any, like look for. Those are fixed phrases. Fixed phrases, then, they behave as a single unit, and in our analysis, we're going to consider them as a single unit. Then, as a single unit, its component or their components are not analyzed anymore. Okay, so what I'm saying is this. Secretary, even though Secretary General is created by the presence of a noun, secretary, and an adjective, general, right? We no longer consider them as two units, right? As two lexemes. We just consider them as a single lexeme. Why? Because they are titles, right? They are titles. Secretary General, Court Martial, President-elect. The same happens with names or some other stuff. In the second exception, I would say. Present simple, present continuous, and past simple, they are names, right? They are tense, or they are verb forms names, right? Therefore, we're not we no longer consider them as two items, but just one. Okay, so no, don't worry about that. Third exception: adjectives which replace relative clauses, many ending in able, able. These are all the seats available. Seats which are available. He found the only solution possible. The only solution which was possible. Okay, this is interesting. These are all the seats available. Okay. So in this example, what we have, these are what? All the seats available. I'm just going to do this, right? Noun phrase, these are them. I would say objects, I think. All the is clearly a determiner phrase, pre-modifier with a predeterminer, all, and the central determiner the, and then we have the noun head, right? And then we have an adjective as a post modifier, right? Right. Um, okay. So yeah, you can have adjectives post modifier. Why? Well, because available is a reduction. A reduction of what? Of a relative clause. The relative clause is this one. I would say these are all the seats which are available, right? Where you have basically the same idea, right? Right. No, this is a noun phrase. So we have our noun phrase, the very same idea as before, and now we have the determiner the determiner phrase, the same idea with a predeterminer and a central determiner. And then we have seats, and then we have this WH relative clause acting as a, I think it's a complement because these are all the seats which are available. It's very important to know that, right? And then we have which is the noun phrase subject made out of the relative pronoun which, and then the verb phrase verb made out of the verb head able, and then we have the adjective phrase subject complement because there's the verb to be, and then available is provided in reference to the, not the reference, is providing information about the subject which, right? Which is the adjective head. And with this example, you can see how this relative clause has been reduced or has been simplified, I would say, into one single adjective, right? Right. Therefore, every single adjective or most of the adjectives ending in able, like this one, right, can be placed right after the noun head, right? Therefore, they perform the role of a post modifier only because they are a reduced form of a WH relative clause. That's it. Okay, he found the only solution possible. He found the only solution which was possible. It's the same idea as I already explained. So no much about that. Some adjectives in English can only be used attributively. Okay, when they say attributively, let's remember that they can only be used as premodifiers. So elder, eldest, former, main, inner, whatever, they always precede the noun. That is to say, they perform the role of a premodifier. The main entrance, his elder sister, the former someone, and can't be used predicatively. So you can't say the entrance is main. This is the main entrance, right? Okay. Perhaps you're wondering. Okay, this is the main entrance. Then is all over again. I'm not going to provide a full analysis for this, right? Uh, I just want you to realize that main is always used attributively. When I say attributively, I'm saying as a premodifier. Please remember that. Remember that attributively or attributive adjective refers to adjectives as premodifiers, even though they are part of a noun phrase which can be performing the role of an object. It doesn't matter where the noun phrase is. The only relevant element is the fact that that adjective is used as a premodifier, right? Like in this example where the noun phrase is the object. Adjectives used predicatively do not accompany the nouns they qualify, obvious because they are complements, but form part of the predicate, obviously because they are right after the verb phrase of a sentence, and are used as a complement after the verb to be or after a linking verb. Okay, linking verb. A verb that connects the qualities of an object or person to that object or person. In the sentence, my bags weigh 45 kilograms. Weigh is a linking verb. Okay, which means that right after weight, there is information about the subject. Therefore, 45 kilograms is a subject complement. Okay. We have other names for this. Copula, a type of verb, copula verb, right? A type of verb of which the most common is be that joins the subject of the verb with a complement. In the sentence, you smell nice, smell is a copula. That is to say, smell is connecting the adjective phrase subject complement nice to the subject you. Why is this relevant? Well, because predicative adjectives are complements. Therefore, they are not placed everywhere, but they are placed right after a copula verb, right? There are lists. Okay, I just need a list of them. Okay, linking verbs. Well, all the different forms for the verb be, and then we have smells, appears to, remains, is getting, looked. Do we have more of them? Yeah, we have tons of them. All the forms of the verb be, senses, and a huge list of them. You can find them quite easily on the internet. I don't really think we need to go deeper into this. Okay, I'm just going to remember you the fact that Predicative adjectives, they perform the role of a complement inside of a clause. Either subject complement or object complement, right? Right. So in order to be a complement, there's a requisite, I would say, that you must fulfill. That requisite is the presence of a copula verb, right? What's a copula verb? A copula verb is a type of verb which helps us to link the subject to its complement, right? So what happens when I don't have that copula verb? Then you won't have a complement, right? ¿Se entiende eso, no? Un
¿Qué
dedito para
cosa,
arriba.
profe?
Se entiende que sin un verbo copular no existe un predicative adjective.
Ah,
Porque
sí.
es el verbo copular el que produce la conexión. Eso es importante. El más famoso de todos los copular verbs es el verbo to be.
Profe, ¿los predicative son post-modifier o
No,
heads en una adjective phrase, cierto?
los predicatives son solamente las adjective phrases que funcionan como complement.
Ah, ya. Tenía esa duda.
¿Sí?
Gracias.
Sí. Si la cosa está adentro, si el adjetivo está dentro de una noun phrase, si el adjetivo está dentro de una noun phrase, es attributive.
Ya, lo
Eso
comprendo.
es de oro, ¿sí?
Ya.
¿Todo el mundo claro con eso?
Gracias, profe.
Ya. Okay, so some adjectives in English can only be used predicatively and usually refer to a temporary feature. Okay, so just some of them. Many with a prefix a, okay, asleep, awake, afraid, alike, alone. Some expressing feelings and emotions, pleased, content, glad, other relations to health. I am pleased, I am asleep. Yeah, but I mean, this slide, what's saying is, okay, these are adjectives which can go with the verb be. That's all what's saying. Right. I am ill, I am well, I am unwell, I am fine, I am pleased, I'm content, I'm glad, I'm upset, I'm ashamed, I'm asleep, I'm awake, I'm afraid, I'm alike, I'm alone. You see, to need the verb be. That's all the stuff. Okay, both in Spanish and English, the adjective can take an inflectional morpheme. Both in Spanish and English, the adjective can take an inflectional morpheme. Yeah, that is true. However, the grammatical functions of these inflectional morphemes are very different. Okay, inflectional morphemes in English can signal comparative and superlative degrees. EREST. Whereas in Spanish, inflectional morphemes signal gender and number. Okay, let's remember that word classes, they can have contrast, like verb phrases, contrast within the verb phrase. In the verb phrase, called the contrast where tense or tenseless, finite, non-finite, passive, active voice, modality, aspect, mood, polarity, and stuff, right? In nouns, contrast are gender, female, male, neuter, I would say. Then number, singular, plural. And that's it. Right? Right. In adjectives, you can have contrast as well, made by inflection. But in English, you just have the contrast of comparative and superlative. Right? Therefore, within the English language, adjectives are being inflected so as to represent a comparative or superlative degree. In Spanish, they don't work in that way because they work with gender and number as well. Just for you to know, in Spanish, there's an inflectional morpheme added to adjectives and to some adverbs to signal very or extremely. Ísimo, right? Facilísimo, buenísimo. With this, I'm going to refer again to the idea of idea of gender studies. Well, not gender studies. I'm not saying that. Sorry. I'm just making this comparison between Spanish and our target language, English, where apparently within the Spanish language, gender has a strong connection, right? Or there's a strong connection of gender within the Spanish language, right? Why do I say that? Well, I'm saying that because there's not just the noun which is being inflected so as to portray the idea of gender, but also adjectives and verbs and even articles, right? So the concord, the concordance, the concord, right? The concord in terms of gender is more profound, I would say, is deeper than in English, right? The degrees of comparison in English and Spanish are positive, comparative, and superlative. Okay, comparison, degrees of comparison. They are 3 degrees of comparison: positive, comparative, and superlative. And they can be expressed by means of an inflection or even syntactically, periphrases. Okay. So Spanish has no inflected comparison. In Spanish has no inflected comparison. Okay, when I say comparison, I'm talking about comparative adjectives. They say that in Spanish, we don't have an inflected comparison. Why do they say that? They say that because in English, we do have an inflected comparison, ER, so strong, stronger. So that's an inflected comparison. And in Spanish, I can't do that. In Spanish, comma, I can't do that. I can't do that in Spanish, right? So I can't say más bueno. Él es más bueno que yo. Ella es más buena que yo. Más buena. Más buena. Para hacer la comparación en español ocupo más y que. Entonces, ese más premodifica buena, que es mi adjetivo, y el que es un link hacia otra entidad. Más buena que yo, más buena que tú, más buena que eso, más buena que la otra persona que estaba sentada al lado de la casa. I don't know if you realize the way in which the Spanish adjective phrase works. In this respect, más buena que yo is an adjective phrase where the adjective head buena is being premodified by the adverb premodifier más, and then it's being followed by a preposition, que, right? And that preposition creates a prepositional phrase. And now here comes a very, very interesting idea. What's doing that preposition? Is that preposition providing information about the head, that is to say buena, or is just a linker between two entities in order to create that comparison? ¿Ese que le entrega información a buena o es solo un linker? ¿Qué opinan?
¿Cómo, profe? Se me fue la idea.
La preposición que, más buena que yo. Me queda claro que es una español. Sí, español. Hagámosla en inglés y funcionan igual. More beautiful than me. Than would be my preposition. And as you can see, beautiful is the adjective head, right? Then more is providing information about beautiful. But the preposition than, what is doing? What is that
Creo
thing
que es un
doing?
linking. Creo que está linkeando.
¿Está linkea o le entrega información a beautiful?
No, yo creo que
Pero es
linkea.
que siempre que se hace comparación va un dampo. Entonces, es como igual obligatorio entre comillas.
Que lo linkea a lo siguiente. Porque si tú decís more beautiful, ¿a qué te referís? ¿Cachai? Más lindo de que qué. Tenéis que decir el than, usar el than para linkearlo, porque después de si decís una noun phrase sin el than, no funciona, po. O sea, así que yo creo que linkea como ambas frases.
¿Conocen algún tipo de palabra que linkee? Estamos inventando términos, chiquillos, somos muy ordinarios, no se dice así. ¿Conocen alguna palabra o algún lexema o grupo de palabras cuya función sintáctica sea la unión de otras estructuras? Linkear, es la misma idea.
And
And, muy bien. ¿Otra más? Because. Y con eso les estoy contando que existe un grupo de palabras que se llaman conjunctions. Las conjunctions juntan, unen. Y el than pareciera ser que también une. Pero es una preposición y no una conjunction. Y es por eso que no creemos en las prepositional phrases. Y no existen. Yo juro de guata que no existen y hay un par de personajes que sí creen que sí existen. Les cuento esto porque Pablo creo que las analiza como preposition linker y lo que viene después le llama nominal group. Y se parece más a subordinación que a otra cosa. Lo van a ver después, tranquilidad. Pero les dejo el bicho adentro. More beautiful than me. Claramente Dan ahí no está entregando información a Beautiful, solo está como un puente entre las dos personas que se comparan. All over again. Within the English language, then you can inflect an adjective in order to show degree, right? Right. Those degrees are positive, comparative, and superlative. When you say positive, you say normal, no problem, there's nothing new, just the normal regular word. When you say comparative, you are stating that we're going to add the ER bound suffix inflectional morpheme to the adjective. And then when you say superlative, you're stating that we're going to add the bound suffix inflectional EST to the adjective, right? Right. Only if those adjectives are one syllable long, right? One syllable long. So what happens if I have a longer adjective? Then in order to state the comparative or superlative degree, we're going to create a periphrasis. Periphrasis means the usage of words in order to state grammatical meaning. That is to say, will play, for example, is a periphrastic, that's the adjective, periphrastic construction. Why? Because in order to state the grammatical meaning of future to the word play, we must use another word, that is to say the auxiliary verb will. And because of that relationship, the relationship between the auxiliary verb premodifier and the verb head, we have the grammatical meaning of future. The same happens with more beautiful. As beautiful is a long adjective, right? We can't inflect it. Therefore, in order to express the comparative degree, we must create a periphrastic construction. That periphrastic construction is realized or is performed by the presence of the adverb premodifier more. ¿Queda claro lo que es perífrasis?
No, no lo entendí.
En la presencia de un ítem que le entrega significado gramatical al siguiente ítem.
Ah, ya.
¿Sí? Simple. En español. Jugar. Futuro. Jugaré. ¿Cómo se expresa el futuro en español? Por inflexión, ¿cierto? Ahí está la inflexión. Ese bound, suffix, inflectional, morpheme nos dice que jugar está en futuro. Jugaré. Y nos dice hartas cosas. Nos dice que está en futuro y que es primera persona singular. Que es primera persona, perdón. Primera persona singular, porque existe la primera persona plural. We, nosotros. Primera persona singular. ¿Sí? Sí. En inglés, ¿existe algún bound morpheme que le pueda meter a play para decir que está en futuro? No. Y debido a eso, tengo que colocar una palabra adelante para que me diga que está en futuro. ¿Cómo se llama eso? Perífrasis. ¿Dónde más ocurre? Con adjetivos. Otra perífrasis. Why? Because intelligent is longer. You can't inflect it. Therefore, you need the presence of the adverb premodifier more in order to show the comparative and the superlative, right? And so on and so forth. ¿Queda claro lo que es perífrasis?
Sí,
Maravilloso. Maravilloso. Estamos listos. Okay, periphrastic involves using two or more words instead of one. Okay, that's the basically the very same thing I was saying. English and Spanish can express comparison by qualifying the adjective with an adverb. Okay, Spanish always uses periphrastic comparisons. English uses them with adjectives of 3 or more syllables. Juan es más o menos inteligente que sus compañeros. Entonces, la perífrasis es más inteligente o menos inteligente. Fácil. John is more intelligent, less intelligent. ¿Cierto? Cierto. Y la perífrasis es more intelligent o less intelligent. No problem. Sílaba. ¿Cómo estamos con la sílaba inglesa? ¿Alguien sabe algo de eso?
no,
No, fonética no vieron eso de la sílaba inglesa.
tal vez sí.
Tal vez sí. Profesor Ortiz, Mighty Old Father Odin, allá arriba en los cielos, alguna vez me dijo en clase, no a mí, al curso, que the English, no lo puedo imitar. The English syllable is quite strange for Spanish speakers because you can have this. Consonant, consonant, vowel, consonant, 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 consonant. Sixth, no, sixth, como Henry the Sixth throne. Right, which is very different from the Spanish syllable. That is to say, the English syllable is quite strange or is quite different in comparison to the Spanish one. As a consequence of that, it's quite difficult for us to know how many syllables does a word have, right? An English word have. So how can we know? Well, basically because of usage, right? I am not that, I don't know much about the English syllable. So if you want to, perhaps you can go and ask your phonetics teacher. Okay, so perhaps they know more than me. I just remember this stuff, that the English syllable is quite different from the Spanish one, right? So careful. So one syllable adjectives, they can take the bound inflectional morphemes, ER or EST. Meanwhile, two syllable adjectives, some of them can take them. Some of them, right? Meanwhile, most of the two syllable adjectives, they use the periphrastic comparisons. Meanwhile, and finally, those adjectives with 3 or more syllables, all of them, they take the periphrastic comparison. Okay. So I won't say much about that. However, we have that, even though we have that those rules, right? The inflectional thing and the periphrastic comparison stuff. English, the English language is always amazing us. I mean, like they are always, how can I say that? They are surprising us. It's a surprising language, in fact, because you have irregular adjectives, which don't follow any single rule. I mean, thankfully, there are just a few of them. There are just a few of them. Good, better, best, bad, worst, worst, far, with even 2 different forms, farther and further, old, older and elder, and ill with worse. Okay, so but those are the irregular comparatives. Superlatives. It is used to express a quality in its maximum degree. Yeah, we know that. This function is expressed morphologically because, yeah, okay, morphologically, that is to say by inflection, or periphrastically. Yeah, we know that. In Spanish, whatever. It is expressed by using the morphemes isimo, whatever. Also, it can be expressed by using the morpheme errimo, whatever. Some other forms, whatever. In the English language, it can only be, the superlative can only be expressed by means of periphrasis or by repeating the adverb. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that idea because it says only. It can be expressed by means of periphrasis, inflection, or by repeating the adverb. So the interesting thing about this is the second example. We know that in the very first example, we have a superlative, most delicious. This is the most delicious, right? In the second example, we have a repeated adverb, right? This is very, very nice, a reduplicative adjective. No, the reduplicative adverb. Very, very nice. When you say very, very, basically you're creating a superlative. Even though in its analysis, you will assume that very and very, there are 2 different lexemes performing the role of premodifier, each one of them to the adjective. Finally, adjectives, attributive adjectives, that is to say the ones that we can find inside of noun phrases as premodifiers, can be several, but how many? Well, 8 of them, and they are not written at random. They follow certain rules, and basically these are the rules, right? So there's an order. So the general rule for adjective order is the following. All over again, I repeat what I said. When they are attributive, that is to say, when they are performing the role of premodifiers. So is opinion, evaluation, size, age, shape, color, origin, nationality, material, function type. So you can say this: nice, big, all round, blue, Italian, plastic, domestic. I don't know. And then a noun. Interesting, fat, new, square, red, German, wooden, electric chair. Right. Some teachers use the word whatever as a memory device. The previous is just a possibility. When I say the previous, I'm saying the possibility for you to have 8 different adjectives, premodifiers inside of a noun phrase, right? It is just a theoretical possibility because it's really difficult to find it in real life. There you have some other examples. She held in her hand a beautiful little round pink Italian plastic handbag. But nobody says that. Then finally, compound adjectives of measurement. Compound adjectives usually hyphenated, that is to say, they are compound because they are made out of 2 different lexemes, right? And they are hyphenated, that is to say, those 2 different lexemes are linked by the presence of a hyphen with the measurement noun in the singular. Okay, this usually causes problem for Spanish speakers Okay. An interval which lasts 10 minutes is a 10-minute interval. A 10-minute interval. An interval which lasts 10 minutes, okay, is a 10-minute interval. First of all, in the example, you have the idea of a 10-minute thing. In the first part, you say an interval which lasts 10 minutes. Please take into account that minutes is written in the plural form. Sorry. Is a 10-minute interval. Please notice that in the second part, 10 minutes is used as a single unit. Why? Because there's a hyphen in the middle of them, 10 minute, right? Therefore, it is following the orthographical definition for lexeme. And in this second example, 10 minute is being used as an adjective of the noun head interval. Because of that, 10 minute, the noun minute, is not written in plural anymore. Why? Because adjectives, they can't be inflected in order to show number. Because they can't be plural, right? That's all. ¿Dudas?
¿No?
Vamos entonces. Ya, chiquillos. Terminamos por, hoy día es jueves, terminamos por esta semana. La próxima semana es semana de trabajo autónomo. Voy a revisar el